countries around the world are asking a fundamental question. Is it in our best interest to align more closely with China or with the United States? The Wall Street Journal reports the Trump team, led by the Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, is using tariff negotiations to pressure allies to limit trade with China, while China seeks to position itself as a force for stability and peel business away from the United States. China may be pushing on an open door. As economist Mark Blythe tells the New York Times, the whole world has decided that the U.S. government has no idea what it's doing. Kurt Campbell helped guide China-U.S. policy through multiple administrations and was Deputy Secretary of State under Joe Biden. He joins us now for his first interview since leaving government. Kurt Campbell, welcome back to our program. It's a long time since we've spoken. What do you think about this big strategic picture that the Trump administration appears to be thinking about, as reported by the New York Times, to gather its trading partners and to essentially, I don't know what the right word is, gang up or isolate China, and make it come to the negotiating table? What do you think? Is that a possibility?
Christina, first of all, it's great to be with you. Thank you so much for having me back on the program. Thank you for raising the pressure, my first interview, but I'll do my best to not let the side down. Look, the first question that every government or representative asks me is, does the Trump team have a larger plan, a sort of a strategic approach? And I think it is fair to say in many of these circumstances, they're sort of playing it as it goes. I'm not sure they had originally decided that part of the negotiating plan with allies and partners would be to pressure them about their trade or their economic relations with China. Most of the focus, as you know, have been about the bilateral relationships between these countries and the United States and trade imbalances there. And so I think these negotiations that are just beginning, I do want to underscore the idea that you can complete 90 negotiations or even 10 or 15 in 90 days is just remarkably challenging. Some of the negotiations that we've had on trade with countries and partners, like with Japan, Christian, the so-called SII talks, the strategic impediment talks of the 1980s and the 1990s, which looked at why it was difficult for American exporters to penetrate the closed Japanese market. Those negotiations went on for years. Mm-hmm. Now, I think there is some incentive to move more quickly now, but at the base of this is that, unfortunately, many of the countries that we would count as our closest partners right now, Japan, South Korea, Europe, Australia, they're all feeling the heat. And they have as many questions now about Washington as they do about Beijing. And that's not in our strategic interests.
Okay, but in terms of the question about the Trump administration's apparent strategy, yes, you say that, and we've seen them punish allies as well as adversaries with these tariffs. We've got the Italian Prime Minister in the White House today talking on behalf of Europe. But is it a smart idea to get trading partners to, I use the word gang up, but I'm not sure what the right word is, against China, who the US considers, as you know, to be involved in unfair trade practices, etc., and thus force China? Because China seems to be doing the same thing. It's going around to its allies in the region and even reaching out to EU and all the rest of it, seeming to want to do the same thing. Say, come to us, we'll be trading partners in this climate.
So, look, Christiane, I think there are some critical issues in which coordination and close alignment between the United States and partners is essential. Technology, advanced areas like AI, quantum computing, synthetic biology, you can go down the list. I think those areas require much closer engagement between the United States and its partners, not only to advance certain technologies, but to restrict the flow of certain technologies to China. I think those are appropriate areas of engagement, and there are other strategic elements, strategic minerals and the like, where organization of the partners is essential. But to go beyond that to sort of the normal flow of economic intercourse, consumer goods and the like, I think that's going to be harder to get countries and partners to restrict those investments and engagements. And so the truth is, Christiane, they are talking about trying to get countries to work with the United States, but we don't know what the terms are. We don't know the subject areas. And so we're waiting to see what the initial discussions with Japan, with Italy and other countries, what is the framing for what the administration is seeking in these bilateral talks. And in truth, I will tell you quietly, most of the countries that go into these talks find themselves sort of waiting to hear at the table what the United States is proposing.